is going to hold the bowl when I go later on to whisk a little dairy.
A nest for your eggs.
Exactly. Now we're going to add a half a cup of granulated sugar and a pinch of salt. A little bit of salt goes a long way, but it really helps to balance flavors. And we're going to go ahead and whisk this until it's nice and smooth. All right, so now it's time to add the thickener. Now we're using flour. This is a reliable thickener. It's going to hold its shape. It's going to really help that pastry cream get nice and thick. So this is a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and we'll whisk this as well.
We're using flour to thicken our pastry cream rather than cornstarch because flour is a more stable thickening agent. Here's why. The starch molecules in both the flour and the cornstarch absorb water when heated and eventually burst, creating a thickening network of amylose molecules. The trick here is the egg yolks in the custard also contain an enzyme, but it's called amylase, and that breaks down the amylose. If too much breakdown happens, the custard will never set. And since cornstarch is pure starch, flour is a safer bet because in addition to starch, it also contains some protein and a small amount of fat, which helps prevent the egg enzymes from breaking down the starch. And that's why flour is the best thickening agent for this pastry cream.
So let's move on over to our dairy. I've got 2 cups of half and half here, nice and rich. Brought it up to a simmer over medium heat. We're going to take a half a cup of this. We're going to use this to temper those egg yolks, because what we want to do is bring up the temperature of the egg yolks so that they don't scramble. So now all this can go right back into that pot. Now I'm going to put it back over medium heat. We're going to cook this just for about a minute. It's going to start to thicken very quickly. And I do want to keep whisking it. All right, so this is just starting to get some body, thicken up just a little bit. So I'm going to turn the heat down to medium-low. And I'm going to whisk this for about 8 minutes. And what we want is a lot of that moisture to evaporate, and we want to activate the flour. All right, so you can see what 8 minutes does. This is super thick. We're going to cook this just for about another minute more. I'm cranking the heat up to medium.
The thick pastry cream is great here because that way it won't leak out between the layers of cake.
Exactly. The sides are exposed on a Boston cream pie, so you don't want to see a lot of dripping pastry cream. This is going to come off the burner. This is 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And as the pastry cream chills a little later on, that butter's going to re-solidify and help give it even more body. This is 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract. So we'll whisk this in. We're going to go ahead and strain this through a fine mesh strainer. And that's going to catch all those little lumps. All right, that is looking good. Now we need to refrigerate it, but we want to make sure that the skin does not form on the top.